You know that feeling when you look back at someone you once loved and you genuinely wonder, what was I thinking? Not in a cruel way, just honestly confused. Because you're smart. You know yourself more or less. You've read the articles, maybe talked to a therapist, maybe journaled about it for months, and yet, somehow, you ended up in the exact same place, again, with someone who didn't show up, someone who was exciting but unavailable, someone who made you feel chosen and invisible at the same time. I've been there, most of us have, and the uncomfortable truth is, it wasn't an accident. There are real reasons we fall for the wrong people. Not random reasons, not you just got unlucky reasons. Deep, wired in, sometimes invisible reasons. And today, that's what we're going to talk about. Not to beat ourselves up, not to turn every past relationship into a psychology lecture, but to actually understand, so maybe next time we make a slightly different choice. Here's the first thing nobody tells you clearly enough. We don't fall for people who make us feel good. We fall for people who make us feel familiar. That's a massive distinction. See, your brain is always running a pattern-matching program in the background. Every new person you meet, it's scanning. Does this feel like home? Does this energy remind me of something I already know? And home doesn't always mean safe. For a lot of us, home was complicated. Home was a parent who loved us but was emotionally distant, or someone who was warm sometimes and cold other times. So we never quite knew where we stood. Psychologists call this an anxious attachment style, though I kind of hate that phrase. It makes it sound like a personality flaw. It's not. It's just a blueprint you inherited from your earliest relationships, from the first people who showed you what love looks like. And here's where it gets a little uncomfortable. That blueprint, it doesn't just affect who you're attracted to, it affects what feels right to you, what feels normal, what you interpret as love. So when someone shows up who's a little emotionally unavailable, a little inconsistent, a little hot and cold, your nervous system doesn't necessarily say danger. Sometimes it says, oh, this I know how to navigate. And that recognition, even when it's painful, can feel like chemistry. That pull you felt, that electric, there's something about this person. Sometimes it's real connection. And sometimes it's just recognition of a very old pattern. The hardest part is, it feels exactly the same in the body. Okay, so I need to talk about dopamine for a second, but I promise, we're not in a boring way. Your brain is a reward machine. It loves predictability about as much as it loves uncertainty, and that sounds contradictory, right? Here's the thing. When someone is consistently loving and available, your brain registers that as nice, comfortable, good. But when someone is inconsistent, loving sometimes, distant other times, your brain actually goes into a different mode entirely. It starts treating that relationship like a slot machine. You know that nobody gets addicted to a machine that pays out every single time. That's too predictable. The addiction happens because it sometimes pays out. You never know when, so you keep pulling the lever. That's exactly what happens in a relationship with someone emotionally unpredictable. Every sweet moment, every text back, every time they lean in and make you feel chosen, that's a payout. And your brain lights up. Dopamine floods in, and you think, see, I knew there was something real here. And then they pull back, and your brain, now addicted to the chase, goes into overdrive trying to figure out what happened, how to get that feeling back. That's not love. That's a chemical loop. But here's what makes it tricky. It feels more intense than love. It feels like passion, like this person awakens something in you that no one else has. And sometimes you can't tell the difference until you're deep in it. There's another layer to this, and it might be the one that hits closest to home. We don't just fall for the person in front of us. We fall for the story we construct about them. Think about it. In the early stages of liking someone, you know almost nothing about them, but you feel so much. So your brain, your beautiful, narrative-hungry brain, fills in the blanks. You decide they're deep because they seemed thoughtful once. You decide they're capable of real love because you caught a glimpse of vulnerability that one time. You decide the coldness is just fear. The inconsistency is just their past. The red flags are just wounds, wounds that you, specifically, have the capacity to heal. But sometimes, you're not seeing the person. You're seeing the best case version of who they could be, and you've made it your mission to love them into becoming that person. That's not really love, that's a rescue project. And rescue projects are exhausting, mostly thankless, and almost always end with you feeling abandoned. Because the person you fell for was never quite real to begin with. The version you loved lived mostly in your head. I don't say that to be harsh. I say it because I think deep down, you already knew. There were moments, small, quiet moments, where you saw clearly. And then something in you chose not to look. That choosing not to look, that is worth understanding. I want to say something, and I want you to hear it without judgment, including self-judgment. We accept the love we think we deserve. Somewhere underneath your conscious mind, there is a number, a quiet assessment of your own value. And that assessment sets a kind of invisible ceiling on what you'll allow into your life. When someone treats you exactly as well as your inner number says you deserve, it feels right. It feels earned. It feels real. When someone treats you better than that number, something uncomfortable happens. It can feel suspicious. Too good. You might find yourself waiting for the other shoe to drop. And when someone treats you worse, it can feel almost familiar. Like, okay, this I understand. This I can work with. That's the mechanism. It's not self-destruction for its own sake. It's your nervous system protecting you by keeping you inside the circle of what it already knows. The good news, and this is genuinely good news, is that the number isn't fixed. It shifts. Slowly, usually, through experience, through therapy sometimes, through the people who stick around and stay consistent long enough that your nervous system starts to believe it's safe. You can unlearn the low ceiling, but you have to know it's there first. So, where does this leave us? I don't want to end this by just cataloging everything that goes wrong inside us. That's not useful. Understanding is only half the work. Change doesn't usually come from one big revelation. It comes from the accumulation of small, honest moments where you catch yourself mid-pattern and pause. You catch yourself rationalizing someone's absence. And instead of finishing the rationalization, you just sit with the discomfort of what's actually happening. You catch yourself feeling that old pull towards someone familiar in all the wrong ways. And instead of following it automatically, you ask yourself, is this attraction or is this just recognition? You catch yourself dismissing someone who's kind and consistent. And you wonder, am I doing this because they're actually wrong for me or because this feels too good and I don't trust it yet? These aren't easy questions. What matters is that you're asking, because patterns only have power when they're invisible. The moment you see the loop, you're already partly outside of it. You don't have to become a different person to break the cycle. You just have to start noticing the cycle a little sooner each time. That's it. That's actually it. If you've been in a relationship that hurt you more than it helped you, I want you to know something. It doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're human, and human beings learn love from imperfect teachers. What you're carrying isn't a character flaw, it's a history, and histories can be understood. And with some patience, with yourself mostly, they can be rewritten. You're not destined to keep falling for the wrong people. You just might need to get a little more curious about why, and a little more honest about what you're actually looking for versus what just feels familiar. That distinction, it might be the most important love language you ever learn. Take care of yourself. Really, take care of yourself.